When I first stepped into the broadcasting business, I had a lot of discouraging comments coming to me. For example, do you know how many people would like to have that kind of job? Why do you think you can make it? Well, believe it or not, those remarks moved me forward the most. It proved the good old saying, we can do anything if we want to. My today's guest will just tell us about his story. Stay tuned.
The Via Mia show is sponsored by the following people.
I forgot to mention the radio was the first field and a stepping stone for me. And my today's guest is actually my colleague. That's the first time it's happening here on the Via Mia show. I'd like to welcome a Black Op Radio host, Len Osanic. Hello, Len.
Hello, Mia.
Nice to having you here.
Glad to be here.
Yeah, well, with your schedule, I really do appreciate you found a half an hour for us and share everything you can with the rest of us. So before we get into the main field where you are at as a host of Black Op Radio, we will get there. I would like to start where that actually started. What happened to you? How you ended up in that field? What was before? What prevailed?
Well, I run a recording studio.
Yeah.
And I've been doing that for about 37 years.
37 years.
Yeah.
Your recording studio. Well, I know about the recording studio. I met you there. It was quite a few years ago, and that's Fiasco Brothers Studio, which is in New Westminster. Yes. So that was your first field. That kind of led you to what you're doing right now. So why don't we just start there? Then your recording studio.
Right.
What is it to be like? What is it about? Responsibilities and requirements of sound engineer? Well,
first of all, you have to love that job to be doing it that long. So I was a musician, and I started the studio to help our own band get going, and it slowly just took off. And the band I was in dissolved over the years, and I just kept recording. So, like I say, I've been there for years and years now in New Westminster, and you know, I enjoy it, and it led into broadcasting and doing a radio show. But, you know, first of all, we still do record bands. So there's still recording going on all the time.
Well, that was your major for years. That's what you were doing, Constrain More. And that's how I met you quite a few years ago, as I said. I don't know if you remember.
Oh, yeah, you were a singer.
Yeah, so I'm still trying to be for a little while. It was in 1998 when I first met you, recorded my first CD, and you see, I became so loyal to you. And I have to say, Fiasco Brothers is very professional, and I like working with you, Len, because I know that you don't let the product leaving your studio if it's not perfect.
Yeah, a lot of people enjoy how comfortable it is at Fiasco Brothers.
That's right.
So, and then they were like working with me, so I get a lot of repeat business, and that's it. It's very comfortable. And because I record myself, I know exactly what a client would expect and want to have, and then what the final product they should have. So that has been, you know, a good combination. That I'm my own musician. I play my own music, so I know exactly what other people would expect when they come in, want to come in.
Yeah. So was that when you started? Was the sound recording engineer your like a seasonal job?
When I started, I was working as an electrician, and I was just kind of recording part-time when I first started. Back then, we just had a hammer and a chisel, and that's how we carved on the wall of the cave. That's how we recorded.
Oh, really?
But no, I've been recording an awful long time, and it started off with tape, and reel-to-reel tapes, and then into synchronizers, and now it's all computers and a lot of automation, and all plug-in based now. So people can record on a laptop computer things as good as a studio, except that you need the room.
Well, the technology, yes,
Yeah.
which you have.
Yeah.
Which you have.
Because sometimes I have choirs or big bands or bagpipes or, things like that, and or a loud drum set. And that's why people come to a studio. Otherwise, sometimes they just do on a laptop, they can do editing at home.
How many, the most people you had in the recording studio working?
I've never counted, but probably about 80 people.
At the same time, you mean?
Oh, yeah, yeah,
Really?
yeah.
So
Christmas choirs, things like that. In fact, when we did the SFU pipe band, they had to come in shifts because there were so many of them. They had to, they came in like 20, 30 at a time.
What do you do with microphones? A share, or you have that many?
No, I have that many, but sometimes I just have a lot of overheads and that, and some things with the drums and that we mic separately, individually, right? But that's how you record, 200, 300 piece orchestra or something like that. Like the SFU pipe band was, only so many at a time, right?
There are quite a few people who would like to be at the same spot where you are. A lot of people would like to learn to be a sound engineer. And now, tell me, because everybody has a different opinion. What would you think? What kind of feedback would you give them? Is it better to do the courses or volunteering business? Volunteering is more essential for them.
Well, I have a small problem with some of the courses that I think they're money-based. They just are a mill where they're trying to grind out graduates, and there is no place for the people. So if you could find a low cost, like, I'm not sure about BCIT or Douglas College, or inexpensive ones where even at night school you might take a course, right, and then volunteer. But some of them are $20,000 and up.
Combine both of them? That's what you recommend?
Yeah, I mean, if you could find something that was $2,000 or $3,000 and it was some, education about recording or filmmaking, the two are very similar, and you took that and then you got your own computer, your own camera, you started doing it, rather than if you just spend 20 or 30,000, there's no guarantee the first thing you're going to do is graduate and then come to a studio and say, and in my case, I don't use Mac computers.
Oh, wow. Well, before we step into a short break, I would like to ask you about technology when you started to record.
Yeah.
And I know you brought some images, and maybe you can describe them. Like, this is how you started, Len?
That's how we cut tape in the old days. You had to have some clean scissors.
You want to tell me that these are the tapes you were using?
Yeah, that's 2-inch tape for on a 24 track. Obviously, that's a bit of humor there. I don't really cut like that. There's a
Really?
splicing block, and you use a razor blade and tape. But for a joke, I brought out the tape and just...
That is a really interesting picture.
Yeah,
I know that
funny.
there are more we can see. Yes,
That's the
I recognize this one.
interior of the control room. So
But
I have my
this
mixing
is
board.
old days, because I know those computers are not there anymore.
Yeah, that's the old style monitors.
Yeah.
But the island there, I have a lot of rack gear. That's 24 track.
Okay, I recognize you, but I don't recognize that equipment. That wasn't there when I saw you first time.
Yeah, I started with 1/4-inch, 1/2-inch, synchronizing 2 1/2-inch machines. That's 24 track, 2-inch tape. You can see by the meters there how many channels you have.
Yeah, what a difference from now. And this is...
And that's my console, a Trident 65.
And you still have it there. Are you still using this one?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Anytime I need more than one microphone, I do. For a drum set, anything. But a lot of times a singer will just come in with music already pre-recorded, and I only need one channel.
Yeah.
But it's there, the day I need it, right?
Well, for the technology, how it's moving fast, I mean, soon you don't really need that much space,
Well,
right?
you'd be surprised people are talking about the good old days of analog. They don't like the sound of digital as much as people thought, and so old tube gear and old boards and recording straight to tape is having a bit of a resurgence. I mean, I'm surprised, but people are recording to old tape again.
Yeah. I remember you were telling me when I talked to you a long time ago about that you try to make artists' voice and singing performance better with your technology, that you help them to sound better.
Well, yeah, I could give you the analogy that in a recording studio, I'm like a photographer. So people come in and they say, capture this for me. So that's what I'm going to do. They're going to play it in one room. We're going to capture it on tape or on, you know, analog or digital, which is, you know, A to D converters, and everything is hard drive based today.
Yeah.
But, you know, we do that, and we do it every day, so we do make people sound better. Like a good photographer will just capture somebody and say, that's a great picture of me. Mm-hmm. It shows kind of what I'm about, as opposed to, you know, just an average photographer.
Yeah. Well, that will be just this part discussed, because I would like to go through the main topic why you are here as a host of Black Op Radio, and this will be after this short break.
Was it 12 minutes already?
Can we talk?
The AMIA show is sponsored by the following people.
Again, we're back with Len Osanic, host of Black Op Radio. We were talking about his how he started, the founder, owner, sound engineer of Fiasco Brothers Studios, located in New Westminster. But now we're stepping to the major part where you are here and what you're focusing on now. You're hosting your own show, and now it's time. Yes, your T-shirt shows where you're coming from. blackopradio.com. You have that website even on your T-shirt, and that's where we can find Len's more information, even his talk show, which is going to be talk about it very quickly, briefly. Before we step there, I know that you recorded, you used to work with quite a few people and names that are recognized. Would you be able to name some? I know that you brought some pictures of them, and I think the first one I recognized because I work with her.
That's Biff Naked.
Yes.
Yeah, she recorded in my studio.
Yeah.
Several times.
Yeah, I remember her, those beginnings. And the next would be...
That's
that's
a
your studio.
picture of the studio area.
Mm-hmm.
So it's kind of squished or stretched, but it just gives you an idea. It's a fairly big room.
Yes, decorated nicely. It really, it doesn't give you an idea. You don't really. We will go through the next image and the following images a little bit later. Now, I'd like to ask you before we do that, hosting your own shows. What are those shows about? What are, can you just briefly tell us, what those shows, are you concentrating and focusing on a certain topic?
Yeah, my show, Black Op Radio, is revolving around political conspiracy, and mostly American. So like the John F. Kennedy assassination, or Martin Luther King, or Bobby Kennedy, those kind of things. Authors and filmmakers are the people I interview generally to discuss items of that, American history.
Okay.
It's kind of a narrow bandwidth, but if you're interested, it's exactly the place to go. I mean,
you've been doing your talk shows for how many years now?
12 years now.
12 years.
Yeah.
12 years on one particular topic.
Yeah.
That means you had, that's a lot of interest there, right, from people?
Yeah, and I'm surprised how much more information is coming out about some of the topics. Mm-hmm. You'd think they'd be nothing more years later.
Yeah.
But people are discovering bits of evidence and things like that, and writing a book about it, or making a film, or doing a documentary, and things are still happening.
Yeah, that's a pretty complex, though, what you do, that particular focus.
Yeah, it's part of history, so it's like a small university degree in history.
You see, I don't want to underestimate, but I would probably think that how can somebody talk about this after 1 year? There's probably nothing else to say.
It's not always one topic either, so.
Okay.
But, we varied. But if you go to our website and look at the schedule, you'll see a list of guests and the topics that are covered. Okay. So over the 12 years, you can find, things about you know, like I said, Bobby Kennedy, John F. Kennedy, different conspiracy things, and even, you know, some health things like problems with vaccinations.
Okay.
Are we getting the true story on some of these things? So
Okay.
that's some of the topics I cover, and like I say, you could check that out.
Yeah, I just wanted to say, because we talked about it, we can find Len's more information on his website, blackopradio.com, and we can probably find there when and what time your shows are on, what day and time.
Yeah, it's once a week, every Thursday evening.
Every Thursday?
Yeah, 6 till 7:30.
Pacific time.
Yeah.
And I think you mentioned that you travel and you tape your shows from different locations, not only this
Yeah,
studio.
but not very often.
You don't broadcast from, let's
No,
say, the States?
I broadcast generally, you know, 98% of the time from the studio. But I've had a couple of conferences in Hawaii, so I've done a few shows from Hawaii. I've gone to Los Angeles or a few other places to interview people, and you know, capture those interviews, and then they're on there.
Okay.
But most of the time, I talk on a telephone or Skype from the newest location.
Okay. And like you showed us that you work with recording artists and singer before, you probably met interesting people through your
Radio show?
broadcasting.
Yeah.
And I know that you brought the images that we saw already one that was interesting picture, what was on the screen. Yeah, this is you where?
That's live in Waikiki,
Okay.
Hawaii. So I was doing a show from there, and then we had over 1 week, I've been there several years in a row now, and I interview guests there.
Okay.
Or at, you know, in a hotel room, but that was right out poolside.
This is
right
a really
behind
good picture.
Diamond
I
Head.
like that.
Yeah.
And-
That's with Governor Jesse Ventura.
Okay.
I was on his show, Conspiracy Theory, that he has.
So-
they flew me down to LA to discuss some things about.
So interviewed you.
Yeah. That's William Pepper, a famous attorney. So he's representing Suran Suran. He was a friend of Martin Luther King's.
Oh, interesting.
That's Fletcher Prouty. He worked in the Pentagon for 23, well, he worked for 9 years in the Pentagon, but he worked in the military for 23 years. And if you watch the movie JFK,
Yes.
Donald Sutherland played his character. In the movie JFK, they
Where
called
was the
him
Kevin
X.
Costner, right?
Yeah.
And this is something very interesting I would like you to say
Yeah.
about this. Is
A
the-
listener sent me a cake. That was my 600th broadcast. It was about 5 weeks ago.
So this is 600th show
And
you
they
did,
sent
and
me
it's
a cake from a
Interesting.
guy from
It's
Las
beautiful.
Vegas. Yeah.
So that takes 600, 12 years, 600 shows.
Yeah, 605
Yeah.
now or so.
And we didn't say, we worked together as well.
Yeah.
I did some radio shows from your studio.
Yeah.
So that is one of
So
our
there you are, and
working
there we got like a little bit of blue screen happening, but
Yeah.
similar to here.
And that's ending our show. Yes, yeah,
Hard
you
at
do.
work.
Yeah, exactly. I know that you have quite a few shows, you know.
Yeah, other shows that I
broadcasting
broadcast
your,
from Fiasco
your
Brothers,
studio.
right.
It was always fun to work there, that's for sure. And you brought some DVDs, and I wanted to ask you what they are about. If maybe we can see them as well as a monitor.
I got into this by writing a letter to Colonel Fletcher Prouty, and to make a long story short, I ended up producing a CD for him. He was a fellow that worked in the Pentagon. So I did some talk shows with him, and he became ill. I decided to keep up the interest, and I started my own show, which is Black Op Radio. And you can get my previous shows, so I sell them. There's a CD I made for William Pepper. When I met him, he said he had a lot of anti-war poetry. And I said, well, I could put music to that, right? The Ralph White album, he's a pretty good artist. And there's another short film I made called The $3 Roundup with Rory Merck and Susan Kovacs. And so I make short films, record albums, and do my political talk show.
Okay. Well, you're very versatile.
Yeah.
I don't know if you live in your studio or you have
Many
time to go
times I
home.
stay overnight.
Yeah. So this would be, okay, so we mentioned this, that you started as a recording engineer, sound engineer.
Yeah.
You help other people to promote and broadcast their own shows from
Yeah.
your studio, and you also do your own. I think that's your main focus, right? Your shows.
Well, it's almost 50-50 running the studio and
Yeah.
doing Black Op Radio. So, you know, most of the time I'm recording other people, but every Thursday I'm focused on putting out a show.
Yeah.
And
now, if I can ask you, you interview people on a regular basis, but you've been interviewed as well.
yeah.
So if you can compare, what is easier for you, or where you feel more comfortable, to be interviewed or interviewing people?
Well, after 12 years, I'm very comfortable interviewing someone because I generally know the topic almost inside out. So they're going to tell me something new, and I want to learn that, so it's easy. If I'm on another show and people, you know, are asking questions, then I have to fit my answers to what they're trying to learn, right? Mm-hmm. So if they're asking me about Colonel Prouty or Black Op Radio or William Pepper or some of the things, I just have to be prepared for that.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's easier for me to do the interview.
It's a learning process to interview people.
Yeah, yeah, and I'm still learning. I mean, you know, I didn't go to school for it. Yeah. I just really love the idea of it. Like I say, after my friend Fletcher Prouty became ill, then I just decided to do it on my own.
So you see, you answered my question when I asked you your feedback about either taking courses or learn on your own, be thrown in the water and swim. Yeah. That was your case, right?
You find that successful people do that, you know,
well,
if you
get
trust
the
your gut.
Experience there, right? So to kind of bend the question, what is easier for you to come up with, questions or answers?
Questions.
It's easier for you?
Yeah, yeah.
You see, then that one I would probably would not think, because to really create interesting questions, I think it gives you, because people usually, I thought that people judge others by questions, not by answers. Of course, by answer as well, but the questions should be there, otherwise answers are not interesting, right? But to you, you've been there, you're a professional, you've been there for many years. Well,
when I first met Fletcher Prouty, who was you know, in the American military, I wrote a letter to him saying, I'm not in the military, I'm just an average person, I'm not a writer, and I have this set of questions, and you know, can you answer them for me?
Yeah.
So I kind of put them like spokes of a wheel and worked on them for a while, and I think it was the time that I put that effort into those questions that we became friends. He appreciated the time and effort. That was very interesting.
Yeah. So looking at the time, unfortunately, I have to let you go.
Yeah.
I don't want to, believe me. I would really prefer to stay with here and you ask more questions so you can answer, but I have no other choice. But I won't do it before I said thank you very much for coming. I really appreciate the time, the information, your experience and knowledge you share with all of us. And I need to ask you to sign my cup like everybody else. This is my treasure. And I used to have a pen here. And it is here, yes.
I saw one here.
Yes. I would like you to do that. And while Len, sorry, while Len is doing it, New Year's is around the corner. It's only a few hours, barely days. And would not be very appropriate to leave this show without playing any tune reminding New Year's. And now it's the time for me to take advantage of our collaboration with Len. Len helped me and let me to record my favorite all-time beautiful ABBA song, Happy New Year, last year. And only a month ago, he created nice slideshow and placed it on YouTube. We don't have time to play all 4.5 minutes, but at least a portion to kind of saying goodbye and Happy New Year. And as my wish for New Year, there's something I learned from my dad, who is doing talk shows in my home country, Slovakia. He said it was very original wish. It sounded like this. Do nového roku vám želám len to, aby ste si už nemuseli nikdy nič želať. Close translation to English is almost impossible, but this is what I was trying to say. May your life in the new year be so full that you don't have to wish again. I'll see you next year. Bye-bye.